이제 시작했으니까 말해드릴게요. 말씀해주세요. 만약에 내가 도지혁이라면, 아니, 내가 만약에 지금 도지혁이라면 생더블 해야죠.
Alright, welcome to DanJJING Star League Season 3, Round of 8. This is BeSt versus Mind. BeSt is up 2-1. Had a pretty nice win on Fantasy. I am your host, BisuDagger. I am so happy to be back casting with you guys again. It is a pleasure. So we have the spawning of Mind at the top left-hand corner and BeSt down at the bottom right-hand corner. Cross spawn. So, you know, Mind won his game when he did get that cross spawn positioning on map 2. And I really think it makes a huge difference for a Terran player like Mind, who likes good long distances, the ability to macro up, and the ability to defend far away from your opponent. So we're seeing a fast expansion here from BeSt, who knows that this is a large map. So, and again, as you can see on the right, we see Go Rush leaving comments, and Snow leaving comments. It is so funny. I love when I see just a bunch of question marks pop up on the chat on the right side of this VOD. But okay, are we going to see a real fast Nexus, a 12 Nexus here? No, it's going to be a gateway out front first. What is this? Kind of like a gateway opening versus Zerg style? I would have loved to see the Nexus come down before a gateway, but BeSt, he doesn't want to be that greedy. He wants to be greedy, but not that greedy, okay? And now he's scouting out his opponent. He's going to see it. Well, no, you're not in the closer, marginally closer though, top right position. Now he's got to determine whether it's cross spawn or towards the left. Much faster if he sends that probe towards the top left. Meanwhile, Mind's going to be sending the SCV down to the bottom left. Both players not finding each other. Is the gas done? No. So Mind hasn't taken his gas yet, but he is looking to be racks expanding possibly. Well, let's go look at that natural base. What is sitting there? So both these players leaving space inside their main bases by putting buildings down in their naturals. And I guess that's one way, because the natural base has such a wide opening, you really just want to use those additional buildings to kind of cramp all that up. But it is going to be a CC pretty quickly here. That's huge. That's huge again. That BeSt, after all this time, is still able to block the refinery from going down. And that gas block is just going to be really, really nice. And I know this is just like small, like super marginally small. But because the barracks has been built inside the natural base, the Marines actually have to travel further to get to the refinery, or to the assimilator to take it down. So it's just like even further travel distance. It's adding on seconds, which is changing the whole dynamic of this first 5 to 8 minutes, where you can see some of this early game aggression kind of change and define the later stages of the game. But that zealot there is going to be very annoying too, and it's going to be only Marines that are forced to deal with this zealot. Very reminiscent of game number 1, which BeSt actually won. So we're getting elements of game 2 and game 1 all together here, and so I love it. Because BeSt is still trying to get his advantages, but Mind, I think ultimately once he defends against this, has the ultimate advantage, because this is going to play into his better defensive ability versus a Protoss player. So now the Nexus is coming down. The super late Nexus compared to what I was thinking was going to happen. I mean, it's normal by any means, but I expected the Nexus to come down very shortly after the gateway. But it's all about this aggressive play. Do you like how the command centers are nearly transparent when they're being built with the new SCR look and feel to them? Kind of interesting, especially on this desert map. I think that the Terran buildings look very unique. Now, I haven't casted games for almost a year, but I actually haven't casted games where I have to do controls on the replays and be the obs while also casting. And I'm just completely daunted by that experience, because I already have enough trouble trying to follow along the game while I am the sole caster and observer. It gets really tough. And I want you guys to be able to have the experience of all the different OBS controls and features. But I think most likely I'll keep the basic layout like these guys do, because it doesn't seem to bother anybody. It's classic, but you get more screen space. So to digress, even though we still haven't seen anything too engaging right now, we can see that BeSt, he is still ahead in supply, he is ahead in his APM, and he's still in a pretty good spot here. I think that he's done a good job of probing up, getting a high worker count, and mining pretty good off these two bases. So there's a lot of space that you can see down on his main base that needs to get filled up. And as he approaches the 10-minute mark, he needs to make sure that he drops down those additional gateways so he can macro up against Mind. So Mind has 2 factories, and so there's 2 factory pushes, but there's even 3 factory pushes that can come in the early game and have some pretty nice timings. But I think those 2 factories are really nice and very critical in the early stages to be able to defend against any early Protoss aggression. I just don't think it's going to happen, though. The way it's looking like, this is going to be a pretty long game. Now, it's been a long time since we've seen this. And I know it's stupid to say that, but at least in televised matches, there just hasn't been a lot of Dragoons attacking the bunker. And because we haven't had the standard maps like Fighting Spirit or Circuit Breaker, there hasn't been this like standard Rax bunker expand at the natural base where a Protoss player will build quite a few Dragoons early on to try and soak up some minerals. So if you haven't seen this in a long time, you need to match the number of Dragoons with the same number of SCVs. And usually, it doesn't last that long once the tank comes out with siege mode. And so you can see it's pretty much useless for the Dragoons to attack in unless we see a focus fire on the tank first and then damage on the SCVs, because at that point, once you kill the tank, you're not all in for the game, but you're all in for that moment, and so you just want to take down as many SCVs as you can. So some turrets coming up, and these are some just care turrets, some worry turrets, but I don't think that Mind has to worry too much. We as the all-seeing viewer can identify that there is no drop ship or no shuttle out right now ready to drop anything inside the main base. There's no carrier tech, there's no arbiter tech, but it's still important to drop 2 or 3 turrets around your main and natural base to just establish that standard perimeter and not let observers get inside your base. I love the exciting discussion that is on Team Liquid right now regarding observers and whether you go for observer speed or observer vision range first. And I really think that my opinion on that changes. It's kind of like a flavor of the month type thing for me. I think there are specific timings where you should be getting observer speed or vision range, but I think even in specific matchups, that depending on what you're seeing and what you're wanting to do at different stages of the game, you should switch up whether you're going for speed or range, observer, vision. So I think that you're just going to get too many different people's advice, and I think that even if you're BeSt or Bisu or Rain or Shuttle or Snow, I think all of those players could get into an argument over how you should use your observer. So I don't think there is a Protoss Council that has made an official agreement on what you should do with it. Sometimes I love observer speed though, because I think observers move so slow, and it's like, oh, you've already had to deal with Reavers being so slow. I just can't handle too much of this molasses type movement. But that observer is in a great spot now at the front to allow those Dragoons to try and pick off at least some of those bridge mines. Bridges are so dangerous for Protoss to cross. And they're very advantageous for Terran players. In fact, every time I see a bridge that allows the Terran to defend their first 3 bases, I think, wow, this is really nice for a Terran player. They've got to love the fact that the map designer has put in a bridge. Ooh, nice scan there, killing off the observer with those Marines. I think that is something that Mind used to be really good at. 4 years ago, maybe three to 4 years ago, it was something that he started to standardize, was going around and observer hunting with his Marines early on in the game. And he also does it really well with early overlords that are sent out by sending out his Marines to kill out overlords if possible. But I think that's something that Terrans need to bring back, is this observer hunting. It's a good skill, and you got to have a quick eye to be able to see where the observers are, because it's so difficult on certain maps. But maybe I think desert maps, it's a little bit easier to see that invisible observer. And I would love to hear your opinions on whether the Observer in SCR and the Dark Templar in SCR is easier or more difficult to see. Okay, so there's a lot of units down here on the left, but a large flank for BeSt. So BeSt has all these Dragoons. He has a shuttle for drop on top of these tanks. And if mine got across this ramp, then Protoss would be in a lot of trouble. But he's guarding specifically on top of the ramp. Or, I'm sorry, not ramp, bridge. Wow, but the drop didn't work. And those vultures are really trying to distract BeSt right now. And they're doing perfectly. So I think that Mind might have the possibility of getting completely across this bridge and refocusing himself down at the bottom. But really, there's no nexus there anymore. He's cleared out that area. BeSt is mining from a third at the 3 o'clock position instead. And Mind really has to find the safe way to get his units back. I think that can be troublesome. So more importantly now, BeSt wants to just make sure that this nice little army that Mind has never gets out of here safely and never joins up with the primary force. But the vultures are going to go for a jailbreak first. You can see that the vultures on the minimap are trying to get away, sneak away from this defending territory. Oh, the tanks have left too, but they're going to head towards the high ground because he knows that he's been snuffed out. BeSt is playing so smart right now, but this cat and mouse game, it may be won by Mind. So many tanks need to get home free. Without dropships here, Mind can't get out of here so easily. It's going to take the sacrifice of several vultures. Oh, but these vultures coming in here at the number 3 base. And you know what? Mind is looking sharp in this game. I think that because he's had 3 bases for so long, he's already got 1. The +1, he may get +2 very shortly on attack for his mech units. +2 finishes. I think this game is going to be Mind's. Oh, what's he going to do here? Is this going to be a recall? So much damage! Oh, that was not a smart move by BeSt, who I don't think could afford to lose, such an important unit in this game. So the recall doesn't work. He doesn't get the total recall either, which I still have yet to see in a professional game. Although people were touting it as completely OP. No, we haven't had any total recalls yet. And look at the units again trying to escape. The tanks are going to have to spread out. They're setting themselves up. I think Mind has lost this cat and mouse game. He will end up losing those units. BeSt in a better position. Oh, no, not in a better position now. Because he's going to lose all of those probes. This economy is so bad for BeSt right now. He's lost a lot of probes in this whole mixture. And I think Mind's going to try and win off these 3 bases. But he has the potential to expand towards a 4th at this time also. The Zealots finally have speed, and that's critical. I think the Zealots were slow for a really long time in this game. And it's really a fast upgrade, and I think it's a pretty cheap upgrade, to be honest. I think that Zealot upgrade is just certainly so important that you should be getting it earlier in the game. It's a lot of factories. You would see 9 or so, 8 factories inside that main base. As a Protoss player, you always enjoy knowing you have more gateways than factories, because your units are just so garbage sometimes against mech that you have to be able to produce, 1.5, twice as fast. Interesting that these Goliaths are coming out here. Goliaths, not a real good matchup against the Dragoons. Going to have to pull back. So there's two different, well, we're seeing like almost 4 split small armies from BeSt. BeSt really wants to try and pick apart this Terran army in several different directions. It's going to require a lot of different flanks. But I think here, Mind, who is doing quite the opposite. He wants his army to stay tough, together, one giant shell. This is the moving turtle now. And the moving turtle is going to head towards that 3 o'clock base. The massive siege up here. The stasis does come down. And there, several scans are going to have to occur because the stasis on the science vessel has occurred. So the scan does come down. I still think because... oh, no way. Is BeSt going to do it? It looks like he's completely broken through this. Now, mind, he does have the defender's advantage still. He may be able to re-macro up behind it. It's 137 to 157 supply. So I don't think that Mind is terribly behind despite losing so much that he might be able to rein this back in. A 4th is looking very, very important for Mind, though. If he wants to be able to stay in this tournament, he has to win this game. BeSt, he can close it out right now. Oh, this is how you lose a Nexus so quickly. Ah, the tanks are getting hit by the cannon. He just goes ahead and takes out that cannon head on. So many units are going to respawn here very, very quickly, too. Very little damage is going to come out from these tanks before they do die off. I think that was not a great push. But the shields are half taken down in the Nexus. Maybe another tank or two, while BeSt is out of position, could take down that Nexus. But because he's up, though, owning 4 bases, I think that BeSt could pull back. Actually, I think he did pull it back with that engagement on the high ground over where we're looking on the minimap here. But I really thought that BeSt was behind it after he lost that 6 o'clock base. And he lost all those probes at the 3. But this is just incredible. He's almost maxed out to 200 supply. And there's the possibility that BeSt may even want to expand one further. But if BeSt can keep an eye on that top right position and deny bases, then he can continue to stay ahead in this game. But it looks like a command center is going to be floating over towards that 6 o'clock position, or no, sorry, 9 o'clock position, and the unit's already heading over. So while probes are getting taken out by those vultures, a complete base is going to be taken out right now. I don't think that command center could float away in time. I wonder if Mind is going to even bother. Supply count is catching up. One more big mech push from Mind could win this game. This is very scary still. As a Terran player, as soon as you max out, even off 3 bases with limited resources, this could be a win. I don't see Mind caving in so soon. So the base is taken out. Is that command center still alive? I cannot believe it. So the command center does live to survive another day, but it has nowhere to go. It has no home, can't plant itself down, and so at this point it's just going to have to continue to float. Meanwhile, a single vulture denying those probes at that base, that is not good. Sometimes vultures do so much more than they're worth. No, vultures do more than they're worth all the time. 75 minerals for a super good utility unit. You gotta appreciate how well thought out the vulture is. But they're super weak. They're ground glass cannons and they die quickly. So the army is out of position for BeSt. He shouldn't be attacking to this high ground, but he gets the stasis on one science vessel. Can he get the stasis on the next? No, he doesn't. So the units are going to get revealed. The Arbiter gets taken out. So much damage from these back tanks. I don't see how BeSt can do this, but he's going to make it happen. Another stasis comes in here, so that next stasis, that may have been what allows him to break in. But no zealots here. No single zealot. It's not getting in there fast enough to engage on the back tanks. I think Mind holds out. Again, this is just too strong of a position here with all those tanks in the background. Remember, stasis is going to expire on the right side. That science vessel is going to come back in. A beautiful D-matrix allows that tank to stay alive longer and longer. Oh, he's got to pick them off very quickly. The tanks come out in such a great time. And BeSt had an opportunity here. He tried to capitalize on it. You can hear the commentators are just going nuts in the background. Hopefully it's not too loud and overpowering my voice during this cast. But between the D-matrices and the tanks, it just looks like this infinite push can occur now. Snow is going nuts on the comments right now. It's really funny. So we're seeing that the Terran push over towards this 3 o'clock position. There's only 2 real good mining bases. And if Terran can take out this one, then I think that this is going to be it. We're so close to seeing a game number 5. Unless BeSt can pull off a miracle, I just don't think it's going to happen. He does chase away that base over at the 9 o'clock position. The Nexus is going to go down so quickly. The Nexus goes down. Oh, what are they trying to show here? The shuttle does not find anything to drop on. I wonder where those Goliaths went. Remember, there were like 6 Goliaths that were built earlier. Maybe they just died off in that earlier, you know, that attack like 5 minutes ago now. We're 20 minutes into this game. Wow, the time has just flown by. The command center looking to take a 4th base. Finally, that command center. There's actually an additional command center still over at the 9 o'clock area, right outside the natural base. So, several command centers. Oh, the tank doing the tank dance, shaking that tail feather. I don't know what BeSt can do at this point. Losing that base, he's got to expand over towards the left side and take that bottom left and take that middle base. Another pylon going down. The supply not looking good for BeSt. Down to 116 supply. His income is not good, so he can't get that supply up very quickly either. This is just the slow bleeding death of BeSt at this point. Mind is in way too good of a position. I'm going to drink some more of my coffee while we watch this. Are there other fellow coffee drinkers out there? Oh, take a sip and honor and enjoyment of coffee. Up! Recall to death! The death call! The siren song. And his game slips away. Going to the ace match. Ooh. This was good. Okay, guys. Game number 5 coming up shortly. Hang tight.